Letters TV. I'm Amber Cherise, the founder of Letters from My Mama, and I'm so glad you're here. So as you know, this season we have a sponsor, That Good Piece, and today's featured candle is Because Sometimes Motherhood is a Mother. It's like one of our favorites. I know it's your favorite, Erika.
It is my favorite.
It's eucalyptus and mint. So I'm just going to light this so we can get the vibe for our conversation. So you've seen Erika in season 3 of Letters TV. We were so happy to have her. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and what have you done since then. So that was last year, a year ago. So let's give us a little update.
I live a very steady life. So nothing much has changed. My career has become more successful. I've upped my goals and met them. So that's really the only thing that's new that's happening.
So we saw Erika 2 episodes. Erika was in our trauma episode, giving us healing that we need. But you were also in our Girl Boss episode.
Yes.
And so we know that Erika has a real estate business.
Yes.
And you were, what did you just get recently? You were like top earner.
Top producer. For June, yeah.
So she was a Girl Boss, y'all. So we just love her around here.
Yeah.
So Letters, the show, the whole premise of my organization is to just promote healing early. We go through a lot as kids and as teens, and back then we weren't doing therapy. We weren't really talking to people.
Not.
We weren't right?
Not.
So now we have these different avenues where we can start the hard conversations in our homes, bridge the gap between generations, and that's what we want to do. So in keeping that going, tonight's episode is a perspective piece on teen parenting. And this came about because it was a TikTok where these 2 students, they had a baby shower and gender reveal in that high school cafeteria.
We had a baby shower and gender reveal at my school today.
And it started this big uproar amongst everybody because we're like, oh, we love this. We're here for this. And they're like, okay, you're putting teen parenting on a pedestal. But I think that we were just putting on a pedestal that people had a village of support that you don't see that often.
Yeah.
So did you see that TikTok? So initially, how do you feel about that in itself?
I did not see that TikTok, but I think that's absolutely amazing. Specifically because during the years that I was a teenage mom, you were more likely to be talked about, whispered about in the corners. You were not going to be embraced, and they certainly wasn't throwing, baby showers. Well, we was broke, first of all.
Right.
So, but they certainly were not throwing baby showers and, tribing up for you. That wasn't happening.
And I think that's beautiful because maybe not so much the dads, but the mother, you're walking around a teenager with this pregnant belly in school and people probably giggling and whispering, you're feeling ashamed. And I think it's beautiful to see that outpour of love.
Yeah.
And so so we know that you were a teenage mom. So let's just go back. So how was it like growing up in Baltimore, and just set the scene for us about how your life was growing up?
Baltimore was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I mean, anyone who follows me now know it's literally the highlight. I had some amazing friends and times, and it was always something to do. So growing up was, I guess, your typical, we had fun. And we lived in the projects, but it was absolutely fun to me.
Right.
So it was great.
So let's talk about 13-year-old Erika. Tell us about her.
13-year-old Erika. Let's see. 13-year-old Erika, she was so confused and all over the place, and she was looking for stability. She was already probably 20 mentally.
Mm-hmm.
But she was really trying to make the best out of everything. She was really starting to grind her gears into how can I make my life better every day. So she was looking for stability and love.
And how was to transition from middle school to high school?
Middle school to high school. Now look, Erica turned 40 this year, so you working on her memory. Middle school to high school. Thought that. And now, are you speaking socially or just in my life?
In your life, yeah. That's like a hard stage for a kid.
Yeah. Socially, I was very excited. I had chosen to I got accepted into a bunch of citywide high schools. I had chosen to go as far away as I thought I possibly could. So I chose Edmondson Westside High School at the time because everybody in my family went to Dunbar. We Eastsiders, so you had to go to Dunbar. So they said, you got to go to Dunbar. So I said, I'm going to Edmondson. So socially, it was amazing. I had a best friend at the time that was already at Edmondson, excelling in ROTC. So I felt like I had a good mentor there. At home, life was all over the place. So I spent half my days literally combating all that I was dealing with mentally. And then the other half of the day just forgetting about it and just immersing myself into the happy that I had going on socially.
Mm-hmm. So what was like your home life like around that time?
We were probably in the peak of the collision, let me say, of one of my parents dealing with their alcoholism, another one dealing with their drug abuse, and me really getting a skinny on what it all means. We were probably really in the collision point of that. I didn't realize it then, but in retrospect, that's probably what it was.
And where do you fall in your siblings? Like,
I'm the youngest of 5.
You're the baby?
I'm the youngest.
Oh. So had most of your siblings transition out of the home around this time?
So all of my siblings, I actually have the best of both worlds, kind of, because I'm the only child on my mother's side. I'm the youngest of 5 on my dad's side.
Got it.
So because my time was spent pretty much equally over the years, it was literally the best of both worlds.
Got it. So at what age did you become a mom? And like when you initially found out that was going to be your new life, like how did you feel about it?
I was so excited. I found out at 15 years old that I was becoming a mom, and my initial instinct without hesitation is, here's my stability. I have someone that is going to love me, and I am going to in turn be able to place my love. And it's going to be reciprocated, and it's just going to be just that. Mm-hmm. I found my stability. That's literally what I thought. Mm-hmm. I wrote their dad a letter and told him about it. We were still in a relationship at the time, but I wrote him a letter and was like, listen, this is what I heard. This is what I know now. But I don't want you to believe at any minute that you have to stay. You are not required to stay. I know, this kind of happened fast, but I'm going to have this baby regardless. I'm going to have him for a very selfish reason, for myself. Mm-hmm. But I am going to have him. And whether you choose to participate is completely up to you. And he chose to participate.
That's what I was going to say. What was his reaction?
He chose to participate.
Was that his first child?
Yes. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. So, we later found out, yes, it was. Oh.
My stomach hurts.
Yes.
So, yes. So, how was that? So, you're going through this pregnancy. So what grade were you in? You said you were like 10th grade?
I was 15, so I was in the 10th, I believe, yeah.
So did you get to attend prom and all those other...
I never attended a prom. I never graduated from a high school. I ended up leaving. I was supposed to graduate in 99. I ended up leaving in 98 and getting my GED so I could enter college early.
So, like, looking back, do you feel like you missed out? I mean, our children are our greatest blessings, period.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But would you have done anything differently?
Oh, I would have done a lot of things differently, but I still would have had my son.
Right.
Um, I think I would have attended prom if I could have. I definitely probably would. Definitely probably. I would have attended prom if I could.
Right.
Walking across the stage didn't really mean much to me, and it still really doesn't. So I didn't really miss that. But the prom aspect, I did miss that.
So I know for me, having my son, I was like my 21st birthday, I'm in labor, and I would say he's the one that made me a woman. Like I felt like the transition and that shift. So do you feel like that came early for you?
Absolutely. As I said, when I was 13, I already felt like, because by the time I was 13, I had already had a significant amount of years of having to take care of me. Right. And I was always my only emotional support. So I had already kind of, by the time I had my son, transitioned into a place of, I don't have time to play hopscotch. I got stuff to do.
Right.
So absolutely.
Hey y'all, this episode is brought to you by That Good Peace, the luxury relaxation brand promoting peace, mental healthiness, and presence. Be sure to head over to thatgoodpeace.com to check out all of our handmade candles, teas, and essential oils to levitate your senses, teleport your mind, and manifest your mood. This week's featured candle is Because Sometimes Motherhood is a Mother. To experience this candle for yourself, use the code LFMM4 at checkout for 20% off all of our products. So what was your support like during your pregnancy when you had your son? Did you feel like you had a village?
I definitely did not have a village, but the people that I had there, they were heavy hitters. Those people were just his dad and his dad's mom, his grandmother, and they made it feel like I had a village. So it's one of those, not the quantity, it's the quality things. Yeah.
So who talked to you about sex? Like, did you learn about it from your friends?
My goodness.
Like, did somebody sit you down like birds and the bees style?
Never. Absolutely never. I actually visited this conversation in my mind recently, and I cannot remember not knowing about sex. Like it was just always there.
Right.
I don't know why, but it was just always there.
Right.
So nobody had the conversation with me. They should have.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But no one actually had the conversation with me.
You know, I had a conversation with somebody and I don't know if I don't think I filmed it. But it's just, you would just be surprised the amount of women that don't even know, that had to learn about tampon, just everything. Mm-hmm. Like, did you have those discussions?
No.
Like, on our own? And I think that's why, like, programs like this are really important.
Oh, absolutely.
Because a lot of people are self-taught.
Is genius for this reason.
Yeah, it's self-taught in so many different aspects that we don't even realize.
Yeah.
I think one of my good girlfriends told me that she's 38. And she like just learned how to use a tampon. Wow. Like things like, but it's things that you never really think about.
Yeah.
So how did you show up different for your children? So you have 3 boys.
Mm-hmm. And
a daughter. You have some bonus babies. Mm-hmm. So how do you show up differently for them in that aspect? As far as communication. Period. First of all, you have to show up.
You got to show up. Let's be present. Let's start there.
So how's the communication?
The communication is very open. I have always been very, very open with my boys because I wanted them to know that nothing is taboo. I'm a realist in my parenting. I've seen a lot more things than I wanted them to ever encounter. So with that said, I wanted to be sure that they always had a place of comfort, to a place of refuge to come when before they got thick.
Right.
So yeah, I've always had open communication with them.
So your your boys, they know that you're a teen mom.
Yeah.
What was the sex talk like with your boys?
Let them tell it.
And their boys too. So.
Yes. Let them tell it. Mommy, you tried your best.
No, like
you
really.
tried your best.
My son would probably say the same.
Yeah, mommy, you tried your best. And this is what they literally, the puppy dog eyes they give me when they talk about it.
Like, oh.
Yeah, you was cute. You was cute, man. But it was, I can remember each of them telling me that they were active. And it was always in the midst of a conversation. This is why it's important that you protect yourself. This is why it's important that you protect yourself. And showing them different levels of freedom that they had that you do not have when you have a child attached to you. I always made it very, very known that just because you're boys, you're my boys, and I love you dearly. In the event that you get someone pregnant, I expect you to be the mom. I expect you to be very, very present for that kid. Mm-hmm. You get no breaks here because you are the male in the situation. Mm-hmm. So not as an intimidation factor, but I'm going to hold you accountable for the responsibility that you have signed up for. Right. But yeah, we've always had those conversations. And
so good. What would you say right now to the girl? She's 15 and she peed on this stick and her life is about to change. Like, what advice do you have?
Decide right now who you want this child to be. Decide right now if the environment you are currently in is what you want to replicate. If not, you need to level up your role models. You need to level up your environment, and you have to do it now. You have to decide who you want this kid to be. And you don't have to stick to this forever, but decide who you want this kid to be, because that is going to be your guide as to where you need to be as a parent, what you need to be doing. I think it's good if both parents do this collectively, because then regardless of what else happens between you and that child's father or mother, you can refer back to this guide as to what is important. So you have to decide now.
Right. And I think when I talk to my teens later in the season, I want them to know that sex is so heavy. It's not about the 2 to 10 minute physical. You can become a parent the first time. Absolutely. Your life can change. Like, it's very serious.
Absolutely.
And I think that with, like, as children, which we still are, under the age of 21, I'll say whole 21. Mm-hmm.
Or 30, depending on who you're talking to.
It's not a decision that should be made lightly.
No. No. I think we've had kids now, older. I'm 40. I'm older than you, but those kids in my later years have had a better benefit to life.
Absolutely.
Because I waited.
Absolutely.
Or not because I waited, but because they came later. They came when I've already progressed in my career and I can afford the extracurriculars. And so there's a benefit to waiting. Mm-hmm. There's a benefit to, and besides the baby portion of it, and it's a whole nother show, but the spirituality that goes into the connection of having sex with someone is something that is not to be taken lightly.
Heavy. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's important for a multitude of reasons to just not be giving it away.
So you left school early to get your GED, but you went to college just because you wanted to further, start getting into your journey. And did you always know that you were going to be an entrepreneur? Or do you think that was a push you needed?
No.
To be your own boss?
No.
Or how did that work out?
No, absolutely not. I feel like I came up in a generation where you were pushed to, if you get a good job at Social Security, if you get a job at Johns Hopkins, if you get a job in one of these major companies, you just sit down, be quiet, and you stick to that for life. Me wanting to be an entrepreneur didn't come into much later. Working actually promoted me to become an entrepreneur.
Right.
Seeing people in my life live and pass away after discussing goals of theirs with me, and seeing them not come to fruition. And then being in environments and work and having people, all these different personalities. And it becomes daunting on your day.
Mm-hmm.
And just deciding at that point, like, I can't give my days to this. So that is what promoted me to become an entrepreneur. And at the very tail end of it, having my daughter and wanting the flexibility. My sons were at the tail end of their high school years. I wanted to be present for everything. And then my daughter was coming along, and the world is different than when I had a baby in 97. So I said I have to be hands-on present for her. So those were my motivators to become an entrepreneur.
So I know a couple of teenage parents right now. I think the mom is a sophomore and the dad is a senior. So just talk about, as an adult, our age, it can be tricky co-parenting, dealing with all the different personalities and the unforgiveness, the bitter, everything that can be present. So just speak about that when you're not even maturely, wise to know that we need to do this for the child. And you have peers.
Oh my goodness.
On both sides.
That is so hard. And I did not have to deal with that myself until later. I married my children's father. We later divorced. And then I had to deal with us not having a mutual understanding on what parenting is. Mm-hmm. But I think my best advice in that case would be back to what I said before. If your child is what's important to you, if we can, at least when we're good, have a meeting of the minds of what we need for this child and what we want this child to be, then we can always circle back to that. And it will help more often than not resolve a bunch of disputes. I think because the question is what advice can I give them when they're not even mature enough? And
some tips maybe.
Have that list, have a mediator. I think it's very important for teen parents to immediately get a family therapist. Mm-hmm. I think that is important because even if everything is rainbows and skittles right now, there's a strong chance that it may not be down the road. And if your child's mental health and stability and happiness is important to you, if you're always checking in with this therapist, that's somebody who can be an accountability partner on what is important to you and what you need to do to guide this kid.
Right.
So I think those would be the best tips I can come up with off the top of my head. But the most important thing is it's not about you.
Right.
It is not about you. And you have to remember that. I think a lot of times teenagers or adults, they get so tied up in wanting to win.
Right.
Wanting to be right. And nailing people to the wall, not giving them room for growth about what they said or did months ago, years ago, that they forget what's important. So you have to maintain an aspect of what is important.
And grace. And also showing up as the parent that you wanted. Like
that is amazing.
Yeah. If you can focus on that, I think that,
that is amazing.
So of course we're going to try to, deter you from having sex at a young age. But if they're down, maybe just speak to that person and to let them know that it's light at the end of the tunnel.
Absolutely, there is. Yeah. Even if you have to be the one to create the light. Mm-hmm. You don't particularly have to go all the way to the end of the tunnel to see that light. You can start poking holes in it in the meantime, while you're trailing on down the tunnel. There is light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to work to get there. You can't just stand still and think it's going to come to you.
Right.
So you have to do your part at getting to the light and creating it.
So what would be your final takeaway?
Don't become a teen parent. Do not become a teen parent. I tell people often that my teen parenting story isn't the one to really share the struggle, because I had those heavy hitters, right? Mm-hmm. But that is not most people's case.
Right.
There's a lot of finding yourself that needs to happen before you can have a kid, before you should have a kid, right? Allow that time. Find out who you are. Explore. Do you even want to live in this state? Do you want to go to college?
Right.
Do you, who are you? Because if you don't know who you are, which none of us do in our teen years, you are then passing that on, that confusion, that instability, that figuring it outness onto your child. And even if you are lucky enough to make it through with a few scrapes and, but make it through, have you really still provided that child with the best life you wanted to?
Right.
So that would be my takeaway. Don't become a teen parent. Be responsible enough to not.
That's as cut and dry and real as we
can. Yeah.
So tell the audience, how can you be reached?
At Real Estate Erika, at realestate.erica on Instagram. Email address is erica@thebaltimorelife. Phone number for the teen girl, the teen boy. It's like, we here now. We don't know what to do. I hate her. I hate him. I love him. I just need to get through this. 443-468-0757. I will take that call at 3 a.m.
Her personal phone.
I would take that call out of my sleep because it's that important.
No, but y'all, really, Erika is like the big sister I never had. And I would take her up on that because her advice is like A1.
I love
A1. But thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode. If you liked what you saw, if you want to keep our program going, next season we're trying to go on the road. Just like, share, comment, donate, all that. I just appreciate you for being here. Hi. If you've enjoyed this episode of Letters from My Mama, please consider supporting us by subscribing to our channel, sharing this video with a friend, and donating to Letters TV. Thanks for watching.